Hey, this is Ender here doing another video on Infinity Kingdoms. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through some of the awesome skills we have here at the Tower of Knowledge and how to best equip them to your characters. This is a guide that is set up mostly for newer players in the pre-season. It's not so much for the later on because right now we are only a level 32 castle on this account. So we're going to be going through how to start out with the early game and move ourselves forward. So let's get right in here. Here's what the Tower of Skills looks like on the inside. As you can see, they are color-coded: green, blue, and eventually purple and orange at the very end. Now, a lot of people have a misconception that the orange skills are the only good skills in the game, when in fact some of the purple skills are some of the better skills in the game, actually. Just so you know this. So don't go getting yourself out of the idea where you should not get any of these purple skills, because some of them are actually really good. So let's start with the beginning. When you start out at the beginning, you're going to start with the access to Onslaught, which gives you a physical damage increase, as well as Wisdom. Now, if you are running any kind of build with any kind of like sorcerer, like Merlin especially, you're going to want to get Wisdom early on, because Wisdom is going to stick with your character for quite a long time, up until you get some other different stuff to replace it. It is a pretty important one, and when you get these small skills that you don't plan to use forever, you usually want to upgrade them to about level 4. Because after that, you notice there's a big increased jump of 5,400, and it starts getting expensive at that point. So once it gets to the 5,400, it's not really worth buying beyond that. You only upgrade skills that you're planning to keep all the way. So an example of that, if I scroll up to here, I know that I'm right now aiming towards getting Berserk. This is the next skill that I'm aiming towards. It is one of the best skills in the game. It is an aura that increases the attack speed of all of your units, as well as gives them a small amount of life steal. So this is a huge bonus to your characters, and I highly recommend getting this skill. This is a skill that you would keep all the way through, so it's a skill that you should upgrade to the max as fast as you can get it. But a skill like Wisdom, where I'm going to use it on my character and then replace it eventually, we're going to leave it off at level 4. So Wisdom is really good for characters with magical attacks, such as Merlin, or another one is Cleopatra. So if we go over to our immortals here for a second, how do you tell if it's a magic attack or if it's not? So if you look at Merlin, who we know has a magic attack, and we click on his skill here, it says deals magical damage. That's what we need to look for. But if we head over to, for instance, Attila, and we look at his here deals physical damage. If you see, inflicts massive physical damage. We don't want him to have increased magic damage because it's not going to do anything for him. We want to make sure that he gets Onslaught instead, which increases your physical attack. And Wisdom increases the magical attack. So this is something important to consider. What your character does. Is the character doing physical damage, or is the character doing magical damage? You need to know before you put these skills in anybody. So you'll probably end up getting Wisdom off the bat and Onslaught. Hold Fast and Fortify are cheap. You can get them if you got some extra points, but honestly they're not a super big pickup because they aren't really useful for very long. However, Thump here at the level 5 is really good. So every 6 seconds after the battle starts, you have a chance of stunning one of the enemies, which at the beginning of the game, like when you're first starting out, it's one of the best skills you can get early on, because it can make or change a battle if you get one of those stuns off. Because every 6 seconds, it keeps stunning somebody a chance of stunning them. So I recommend getting this and getting to level 4. It does get replaced, however, so just get to level 4 and we're going to then move on. Then Meteor here is another really good skill for early on in the game. So what it does is it will cause damage to a single target at random, and it's really good on your magic caster spells, like if you've got Merlin or Cleopatra, and most people usually either want to go water or earth to begin with, so you're going to want to have this in your Cleopatra or on your Merlin to add that extra magic damage, because they have big magic stats, especially like Merlin. So this will help you early game. You'll want to upgrade to about level 4, but once you're done with it, you'll probably get rid of the points in it, and bring it, it'll automatically go down to level 1. Now let's see, we have instigation here. So certain characters early game, like Helen of Troy, she's a character that you would kind of get rid of eventually, and she's not very useful at a certain point. You're going to try to replace her with a better character, and she's kind of like a support character that does a little bit of damage, so she's kind of weird. So these kind of characters, when you're looking to put a skill on them, usually when you don't know what to put on them because it's like a replacement character, you're going to get rid of them and you have some extra like purple coins to spend, like if you got that extra, this is the skill you use. It's called instigation. What it does, it confuses one of them. When a person's confused, they attack their own teammates. It's really powerful. The only problem is it has a low chance of it happening. So it's good early game, but it's something that you end up getting rid of, or you just skip altogether, depending how quickly you can get rid of like those Helen of Troy type characters. Then we go up into the next level, and this is where a lot of different people make some mistakes. So if you look at this here, it says every 6 seconds after the battle starts, there is a 55% chance that your unit with the highest troop number losses will have their HP recovered. And it does quite a big recovery. The problem with this is it usually doesn't work very good on champions that don't keep their health either full or have a healing effect already on them. So this is like really great for a champion like Moctezuma, like here, like I've got it on him right now because he already does healing, so it'll buff his healing. Or Zenobia, it would work on her or any of the other different healers, a person with a healing skill. They recommend it here, if you notice, for like tank characters as well. The problem with putting it on the tank characters is quite often you will get this skill here instead, Grace. And Grace will heal one random character. Let's see. And Grace quite often works far superior to support, because Grace actually ends up going off a lot of the time. It ends up working. So, and they tend to quite often not stack. So if you have support and Grace at the same time, you will find that they don't often work together. So I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's intentional, but if you have Grace and support connected, you'll find that only one of the two is working. And support is a little bit better to stick on your tanks. Currently, I have support on my Herald because I haven't gotten another skill to replace it with. I also got Thump on him. See how like I'm quite well into this game, and I am still using Thump because it is a good skill. I will be removing it shortly though. Silence, it's good, but I don't recommend it. It's too expensive for what you get out of it. So I would say we would skip over this skill. Stray Arrow is very similar to Meteor. If you have like a very physical damage based group, or you get like Yoshi early on in the game, this is Yoshitsune, I would recommend getting Stray Arrow for him. I did not get Yoshi early in the game, so this is a skill I passed over because I just didn't have a good character put on. It's really good for a back row character that does a lot of physical damage. It's not as good for a front row character because it's something that you want to last in battle as long as possible to get that 6 seconds off as often as possible. Usually want to stick your front row characters with more stuff that gives them more survival. Combo. Now this is a huge early game damage boost. You want to get this one as soon as you can. You want to push for combo as fast as you can and get this on one of your characters. If you are water, you usually want to stick it on your Herald, or your if you don't have Herald, you stick it on Attila. If you don't have Attila, you want to stick it usually on like your Brynhild or something. You want to stick it on one of your people that is up front, and you want to put it on your more of your damage dealer. And the reason being is usually you put on Attila is you get another skill called Absorb, and you want him fighting a whole bunch. So you don't want him to like stop being able to fight, so you put Fighting Master on him. Since he's got Fighting Master, he can't be controlled like by silenced or like stunned or anything, so he can just keep fighting, which then stacks really nice with that Absorb, so he is constantly getting that life steal bonus. where you wouldn't then want to put combo on him because that would take up one of those slots, where instead you'll eventually get over here this skill, cleave. And we'll talk more about all these skills as soon as we get to them. We're just going to go through these beginning ones first. Let's see. Now, I don't personally like root. I don't personally like precision. And I don't personally like penance. I find all of these skills are very niche. And unless you're doing something very, very specific, I find that they don't have a good enough bang for your buck. So unless you're doing a very specific build, I do recommend skipping over level 22 skills. However, level 24, we get concentration. And if you have a magic caster in your group, like Merlin or like Cleopatra here, you need this skill as soon as you can get it. You'll replace it eventually, but for a very, 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 very long time, you are going to be using this skill. So get this skill to level 4, maybe even level 5, and just let it sit there on your Merlin or your Cleopatra, because it will get their damage up by quite a bit. Now, Rage. This is one of those ones that if you are running fire, you want to get Rage, and you want to stick this one on a character like your Hippolyta. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Hippo. Anyways, Rage increases crit, and fire is all about crit. So if you're running a fire build, you're going to want Rage, at least until you can get something else that increases the critical strike of everybody on your team. So Rage is really important for fire. Fire is all about critical strike. Now, Chase is for magical criticals. Now, I don't like this skill. It's a horrible skill. A lot of people get it, but what I don't like about this skill is magic attacks don't happen often enough to get crits often enough. So usually you want attacks that happen quite frequently, like normal attacks and stuff, to be critical, because your characters are constantly doing critical attacks with their normal damage. It happens often. Magic attacks are not getting as often critical hits. So this skill doesn't actually, in my opinion, happen often enough to make it worth it. I'm sure that there is some build out there that works really good with this. I personally haven't found it. Maybe it works with fire or something where they have a higher crit rate, but I am not fond of this skill personally because of what I've just explained. Retaliate, I am not fond of this because by the time we're up to here, there are just better skills that you can get very soon, where this just seems like a waste of money. It's not a bad skill, it's just like it's by the time you get it, it's just kind of too late. Agile is the exact same thing. It's adding dodge. There are better skills out there by this point that you can get rather than dodge. So, because it only gives 15%. Like if it was maybe like a 25%, this would actually be a really good skill. If we had it like higher up, like maybe made it purple or something, this would be a skill that'd be more worth getting. But that 15% is just too low. Let's see. Especially it's only on one character too. Now, Chaotic Blade. If you have a physical attack damage person, especially a back row physical attack person, this is a must-have because it does really good damage, especially at the time that you can get this. And this is a big one that you want to be getting, and you want to be getting this one up to like level 4, level 5. You're going to keep this skill for quite a long time. You will eventually get replaced because there are better skills out there for damage, but this is one you will keep. And I really like putting it on like Yoshi. It's really good in Gilgamesh. Anything that's a back row character that does physical damage, this is the best place to stick this on. It is good for front row characters as well if you have like somebody just fully dedicated to damage, but more of the stuff that has this every 6-second type thing, you want that in a back row character so it has the longest chance of surviving, so it has the longest chance of being able to keep applying this effect. Magic Shield. See, this decreases the magic damage received, and this is good if you are running a very, very tanky build. This would be really good for like Earth. If you are running, let's say, like Leonidas, you might stick this on him early game to give him some extra bonuses to defend. Because if you like combine Leonidas, what's the other guy's name? Give me a second. Let me look quick. See, I've got them even in my stuff. So Leonidas, Charles, that's it, Charles the Great. There we go. So with him and Charles together with Zenobia healing in the back, he is very, very tanky. So I personally think that if you make him even tankier, he just can't die. So it's really good to have that one character that you just can't seem to, that nobody seems to kill. So this is really a good niche skill for those type of characters that increase their defense. So this would be good, like I said, for Leonidas or for even King Arthur, because King Arthur, you want to reduce the damage he takes as much as possible. Any tank type characters. It's not really useful so much for damaging type characters, but the tank characters it is really good on. However, what's even better than that skill is the physical shield, because every battle you're going to be dealing with physical damage. However, magic damage is only being dealt by a certain amount of characters, so it's not as important as the physical shield. So if you have a choice, if you're going to choose only one of the two, get the physical shield, which is one level higher, and stick it on your Leonidas, because it's a pretty good skill. I'm not running Earth, so I personally didn't get it. I like water early on in the game, but that's just a personal preference. Now, anger. This is a very similar skill to concentrate that we had earlier. It's just where concentrate is for magic, anger is for physical damage. And if you noticed, I've got this at level 5 where concentration I have at level 4. And that's because more characters in the game can use physical damage than they can use magic damage. So I'll be able to reuse this skill on more characters than I will be able to reuse concentration. So I feel this is a very important skill. Next skill up that we want to get, ASAP. This is your absorb. So if you've got a frontline character that is dealing damage and you want them to have more survival, you want to get absorb on them ASAP, because this skill will keep that character lasting longer and longer. So this is really good in Alexander. This is good on like Attila. This is good on any front row character that focuses on dealing damage, like especially Hannibal, any of those characters that buff the damage that they do per attack, rather than they do like an actual damage line. Like the way like Attila will hit a bunch of targets and like silence them, that doesn't increase the lifesteal he's doing, so it's not as good on him as it is on like Alex, or I think let's see, this guy, I think he has something. Yeah, he increases your damage by 27%, so his actual damage increases, which will then increase the amount that he is thus absorbing. So you really want to stick like absorb on those type of characters. It's mandatory on them. Whereas it does help on your water builds with Attila, but it's not as effective, but still a very good skill. I highly recommend it. You will use it for a long time. I'm currently using it, and it is a big difference, especially for doing like Well of Time and stuff. You need this skill. If you don't have this skill, you're going to really have a hard time getting through Well of Time. Next up, we have Fighting Master. Now, this skill you are going to be using all throughout the game. This is going to be one that is going to be a big, very important skill. It's really good on characters like Zenobia or any healers. Like you need to put it on them because you need them to be able to make sure that they are able to keep healing. It's really good on your characters that are like those damage dealers, where you want them to be able to keep dealing damage so that they can keep healing themselves. So like your Alex, anybody that has absorb on them, you want to also it combines perfectly with Fighting Master, because you want to make sure they keep attacking. I think I've already gone over this a little bit too, so I won't stick to this skill too much. And we're almost to the end, because I'm going to be stopping once we get to level 31. So, Defense Blessing. So, this isn't a bad skill, but I don't think it is as a good of skill as some other ones that you're going to be getting very soon, unless you're running a very, very, very tanky build. Like, you would stick this on a character like Charles, who is a front row character that is also a support character. So he'd be one of the niche characters that you would want to run Defense Blessing on. So anybody that is a front row support type character, where they have an ability that creates the rest of their team to make them a little bit stronger, you would get a skill like this. After Image. So this is a dodge to all of your troops. and it is a far better dodge than the other one. And you might want to consider putting this on one of your tank characters if you aren't really sure which ones to go. But remember, dodge mostly works versus physical attacks. So it's also kind of a luck thing where you're either avoiding all of the attack or you're taking all of the attack, which if you have enough dodge in a character, it's really good. But if you don't have enough dodge on the character, it's kind of like pointless. So you have to also have like the dodge skill in your talents and a whole bunch of different stuff. So if you have a whole bunch of dodge stacked up, this might be something to add to your tank build. It will depend on what you're building, honestly. Toxin Nova. Now, this is one of those magic damaging ones again. I see a lot of people sticking this in physical damagers. Don't. It doesn't add that much damage if you stick it in the physical damager. You want this on your Merlin. You want this on your Cleopatra. You want this on any character that does magical attacks. Otherwise, you're not really getting its full benefit. But, really, really good damaging spell. Iron Will. I don't like this skill at all. Because it's expensive, it's high level up, especially that we're getting Cleave very shortly after this skill, and like right soon is coming as Berserk and stuff. So this just increases your damage when you are being controlled. And control effects, not every army has them, and there's not even a chance that there's a chance that you'll go through an entire battle, even if they do have control effects, that the character wielding this is not even going to be hit by it. So it's not really that awesome of a skill. So I find the niche encounters that it's going to be good in, there's going to be few of those situations that it's good, versus some other skills that are always useful. So this is not one I recommend ever taking unless you have a very specific thing that you're trying to do, and I can't imagine what that would be. Fire Nova is the next step up from Toxin Nova and should immediately be put on like Merlin or Cleopatra as soon as you can get it to that level 4, because it is going to be replaced eventually, but it is a really, really good skill. So Toxin Nova, Fire, let's see. Oh, did I miss one? I missed Heavenly Thunder. We'll come back to this in just a second. So Toxin Nova here, I've got it at level 5 right now, and I've got my Fire Nova at level 4. We're going to be upgrading this one soon, actually, but I wouldn't recommend getting them too high because eventually they are being replaced. And the physical damage equivalent of that is Garrett. So if we're going for physical damage, it is Garrett. If we're going for magical damage, it is Fire Nova. Over here, we have Adrenaline Rush. And this is one that I am going to be getting soon, actually. So Adrenaline Rush is awesome. You want to put this on your main damage dealer. So I'm going to actually be sticking this on Merlin because he's the main damage dealer in my water build. So what it will do is it will help him get that skill that he has off faster. So every single time he attacks, he has a chance of gaining energy, and the faster he gains energy, the more often he uses that big nuke that he does. And we want him using that as fast as possible. Same with Cleopatra and any other character. So you want to get this skill out there ASAP. The problem with why I don't have this skill out here yet is because I want to combine it with another skill up here, as I've already talked about, which is Berserk. And Berserk increases your attack speed. So if their attack speed is increased and they're attacking faster, it will also increase the likelihood and how often you're getting energy from Adrenaline Rush. So until you get that attack speed boost, I don't feel it is as useful because I feel you don't attack fast enough. But that, what is it, like, I think it is a 10% bonus in attack speed. That 10% actually makes a huge difference and actually makes Adrenaline Rush a really, really, really good skill for a very long time, actually. Like, this is one skill that you might use all the way through the entire game from beginning to end. I do recommend getting this skill. Please get this skill eventually because you are going to be using it. You're going to want to upgrade it all the way. It's always a good skill. Now, told you I was going to come back here to Heavenly Thunder. Heavenly Thunder is one of those skills where if you have like some extra magic damage dealing on your skill, magic dealers on your team, like maybe you're running 2 magic dealers in the back and you just need a little bit more and you got some extra money to spend, this is one of those skills that you're going to want to throw out there, Heavenly Thunder. And it's something you're going to end up being replaced pretty soon. It is really powerful, but it's something better that like would be if you have like one of these skills like Berserk, because it does need that attack speed. So if you have it on somebody like this would be something if I was running 2 magic dealers in the back, I would probably get this, especially if I had Berserk. Now, last row we're going to be going over today, guys. And the reason I really want to get to this row is because of this lifelink skill. This is the skill that I see more people use wrong than any other skill out there. I see tons of people buy it because it is orange and they think it is phenomenal. And the truth is, it is phenomenal if used right. This is a skill you want to stick on your tank. You want to stick this on your Leonidas, you want to stick this on your Arthur, you want to stick this on any character that has their damage to them reduced. You don't want to stick this on Charles, because Charles is not taking damage, his shield is taking damage. You want to stick this on champions where their damage is getting lessened. And the reason being for this is because this actually has an awesome effect where the damage that it shares is the damage that is dealt in total to the champion. So if you are dealt 100 damage, and then you reduce that damage on your character by 20%, so they're only taking 80 damage, this character takes 80 damage, but it still reflects, if it's fully upgraded, the full 50%. So they will be reflecting 50 damage. So if you have enough damage reduction, you can actually make it to the point where this is reflecting the same amount of damage or more damage than your character is taking. But if it is not on a tanky character, it is not possible to do that. And thus a pointless skill, because it is not going to happen often enough where you're able to lifelink with a character and make sure that you are dealing damage if you do not have a very tanky character. This is really, really good in King Arthur, really good in Leonidas. If they're not a tanky character, please do not put this on them, and especially do not put this on a back row character. This is for front row melee characters. I see this too often on like back row characters where they're not even getting hit often enough to make it worth it. This needs to be on a front row tanky character. Phenomenal skill if used that way. If you're not using it that way, don't get this skill, because otherwise it's a waste for you. Now let's look over here. Will of Angels. Whenever you receive damage, there is a 7% chance of restoring hit points. I don't like this skill. I feel like 7% is just too low. Now, I haven't tried it enough yet though, so it might be better than I think it is, but to me, like how fast targets attack and different stuff, I feel like you're not going to be getting enough healing from it compared to a lot of other different healing sources. So I feel it's a waste, like especially with Berserk coming up in just like 2 more levels. So I don't like this Will of Angels, and there's another one up here. Demon Body does the exact same thing. Or one of them does. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ones where if they take damage, different things will happen. I don't like those ones. The only one that you take damage and something happens that I like is Lifelink. Now, Cleave. Please get this. Every front row champion that does damage, your damage dealer needs this skill. And this is the last skill we're going to be going over today, guys, because otherwise this video is going to be running for way too long. So, here we go, guys. Cleave. This is for your front row characters. You want to be sticking this on your damage dealers, especially damage dealers that are more the support type, like they're not like straight up damage dealers like Alex or something. It does work good on them, but they more want stuff that deals bonuses to their physical damage as it is. It can work on them, but you want to maybe put this more on like your Heralds or your Attilas or any character that like has like a physical attack. It helps them as they're in between physical attacks to get some extra bonus damage out. So there we go. They were up to level 31. I will be doing level 32 and above soon in another video. I hope you guys all liked this. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more, because it helps keep my channel going. Thanks so very much for tuning in, and please make sure you always comment and tell me what you would like to see, because I'll be happy to make that for you. Have a good one, guys. Later.